Okay, this video is for 1.3 variables on both sides. In this homework, it is timed. It is 1 hour long. There are 12 questions. You have unlimited attempts, so you can do it as many times as you need to get the grade you're happy with. Now please remember, as we go through this, these numbers will be different, but the problems will be exactly the same. Alright, let's go ahead and get started. Right here we have something saying solve for W, and I'm going to write it out here. Pretend this is my scratch paper. If you have scratch paper, that will make your life much easier. So we've got negative 12W plus 62. Always just rewrite the problem down on scratch paper. Now we see we have two W's right in a row. We have a W right here and one over here, but they're on both sides of the equal sign. That's not even close to a straight line. Okay, both sides of the equal sign. We need the W on only one side or the other. Now this first step, when you're moving a W, you never multiply or divide. Okay? Never do that. Only add or subtract. Okay? When you're trying to get them on the same side, you only add or subtract. I'm going to add 12W. Why? Well, that's where my cursor was. You can do the plus 5W if you want. Either way, it doesn't matter. You'll get the same answer. So I'm going to do plus 12W here. Let me get rid of some of this here. So we did our subtract, add and subtract. Now here, we add these together. Negative 5W and 12W is 7W plus 6 equals, this side, the W's went away, and we're left with plus 62. Now, even though the numbers are different, you'll do it the same way. You'll just add or subtract one of the variables, okay? And then just combine them. So here we combined them. We had the plus 6 and the 62 left over. Now we can put our box and say, all right, we need to get everything away from that box. So minus 6, and we're left with 7W. That's 0. That's nothing. So equals 62 minus 6 is 56. We're not done yet because we're now inside the box. And if you remember, inside the box it's either multiplication or division. Outside it's either plus or minus. And that's another reason why it was only plus or minus when we're trying to get that away from that side of the equation, because we were still outside the box. So we still had only plus or minus. Now we're inside the box, so this is connected with multiplication right here. If there's a number right next to a letter, that's multiplication. So we're going to divide by 7, and we're left with W equals 8. And that is the answer we want to put in. So right here we would say the answer is 8. Number 2. Same type of question. First thing you want to do is write it down. So we have 6V plus 5 equals 8V plus 11. We see we have V's on both sides of the equal sign, and we can't have that, but we're not inside the box. We just got to move the V, and so just remember that's always plus or minus. Always plus or minus. So I'm going to minus 8V. I always like just doing it on this side. It's just a habit for me. Minus 8V. What is 6 minus 8? That would be negative 2V plus 5. We didn't touch that, so that stays there. Equals, and what's 8V minus 8V? 0. 0 plus 11 is 11. Okay, put the box around the variable and the number and sign right in front of it, and get rid of anything outside the box. Inside the box, it's always times and divide. outside the box, it's always plus and minus. So I need to do the opposite of what it says to do here. So I'm going to minus 5. Minus 5. And that matches right here. We're outside the box. Leaving me with just the box. Negative 2v. This goes away. And I'm left with 11 minus 5 is 6. Now we're inside the box. And once inside the box, it's only times or divide. So we're going to divide because that's the opposite of what it says to do. We're supposed to multiply, so we do the opposite. Divide by negative 2. And we don't ever divide, we never divide by the variable. Okay, just the number. Therefore, we can cross off the number. There's a negative 2 here, negative 2 here, and look, our v is completely by itself. What's 6 divided by negative 2? That would be negative 3. And so that's the answer. And so when we come over here, that's what we put in. Okay, number 3. They should all be very similar. These ones, the first 3 should all be exactly the same, just different numbers. 28 plus 19y equals negative 8 plus 15y. Okay, I'm just copying it onto my scratch paper. I notice I have y's on both sides, so only plus or minus. So I'm going to minus 15y, minus 15y. Always line up the y's with themselves. Okay, and therefore you can always realize, hey, I didn't touch this 28, so I'm just going to move it down and say 28, 19 minus 15 is positive 4y equals, I didn't touch that, so I can just move it straight down, negative 8, and then 15 minus 15 is 0, so I don't need to put anything there. Now I put a box around the variable and its number and the sign right in front of it, and then we do the opposite to get rid of this. So this is a positive 28, so I'm going to minus 28 from both sides, minus 28. 28 minus 28 is 0. 0 plus 4y is just 4y. 8 minus 28 is negative 8 minus 28 is negative 36. Now we're inside the box, so we divide, because right here it's saying to multiply when the number's right next to the letter. So we're going to divide by 4. And that allows the 4's to cancel out, leaving with just the y on that side. And what's 36? Negative 36 divided by 4, that would be negative 9. So that would be my answer, negative 9. So that's the first 3. Or they're all exactly like that. Now, 4, 5, and 6. So the next 3, those are going to be slightly different. These ones have parentheses in them. Okay, so let me rewrite it. 4 times y plus 7 minus 8y equals negative 4. Whenever you have parentheses, you have to distribute every single time. Okay, and by distribute, I mean you take that first number and multiply it by the both numbers or all the numbers inside the parentheses. So we have 4 times y is 4y. 4 times 7 is a positive, because it's a positive 7. So 4 times 7 is a positive 28. And we didn't touch the rest of this. So minus 8y equals negative 4. Do we have anything we can combine? Notice all the y's are on one side of the equation, and there's no y's over here, so that's good. Now we can combine like terms. We have a couple boxes we can draw. Here's one box here, and here's the other box here. When they're all on one side of the equal sign, that's perfect. We can just combine them up. So 4 minus 8 is negative 4y plus 28 equals negative 4. Okay, I just rewrote that because I didn't touch it. So I didn't change it, so I just rewrote it. Now we're down to one box, so we can do the opposite to get rid of this. What's the opposite of plus? Minus 28. Minus 28. Okay, and that leaves us with just negative 4y. We have the box. This went away completely, so that's just 0. And negative 4 minus 28 is negative 32. Now we're inside the box, and if you remember, again, inside the box it's always times or divide. Outside it's always plus or minus. So now we're inside the box. We're going to either multiply or divide. This one says to multiply. That's what it means together, so we're going to do the opposite. Divide by negative 4. And that tells us that y gets by itself right here equals positive 8. Why is that positive 8? Well, the negatives cancel out. Negative 32 divided by negative 4 is positive 8. Or if the negatives cancel out, it's just 32 divided by 4. Okay? So our answer for this one with these numbers would be 8. Number 5 is going to be very similar. It's going to have parentheses that you've got to deal with. Okay, so again, we rewrite it. 3u, not y, u minus 7 minus 5u equals negative 13. Okay. Now if I look for my u's, I see there's one right here. I'll bold it in a different color so you can see it, and one right here. They're both on one side of the equal sign. Okay, so if I have the equal sign right here, they're both on the left. There's no u's over here. And that's exactly what we want. But now, before we go on to combine them, we have to get rid of these parentheses right here. So we're going to distribute that 3 there and that 3 there. That gives us 3 times u is 3u. 3 times negative 7 is negative 21. And then we didn't touch that negative 5u, not y, u, equals negative 13. Great. Now we see we still have the u's. Let's put them in a box. There's no more parentheses, so I'm going to put my variables, my unknowns, with the number and sign right in front of them in a box. And I can see I can combine those together. 3u and negative 5u gives me negative 2u minus 21 equals negative 13. Here's my box with the variable or the unknown in it. So I got to do the opposite to get rid of this. So plus 21, and that leaves me with negative 2u, that goes away and is 0, equals, and what do I have left here? Negative 13 plus 21, and that's 8. And feel free to use a calculator for that, I just did. Now we're going to divide by negative 2, and that cancels out, giving us our very last step. U equals, divide by negative 2, negative 4. 8 divided by negative 2 is negative 4. So right here, I'll put my negative 4. Number 6, exactly the same. You got to clear the parentheses using distribution property. So 19 equals 2 times w plus 2 minus 5w. We have parentheses here that need to go away first. The way to clear out any parentheses is always just distribution. So we have 19 equals, what's 2 times w is 2w. 2 times positive 2 is positive 4. And then I didn't touch this, so just minus 5w. Now the parentheses are all gone. I can see, hey, here's one box, here's the other box. They're both on one side of the equal sign, so I can combine them. 2w and negative 5w is negative 3w, and I didn't touch that, plus 4. And this side I haven't touched at all. Okay, once again, I have my box with my w. And I say, okay, everything outside that box is either plus or minus, so to get rid of it, I'm going to do the opposite, so minus 4, and that leaves me with 15 equals negative 3w. Now notice all I have left is the box, so I can open it up. Once you open the box, we see there's only one thing going on in here, that's just times. In order to get rid of the times, we're going to divide by negative 3. And that leaves us with negative 5 equals w, because the negative 3's cancel each other out. Hopefully you're starting to see the pattern here, and you're able to kind of move on. Try number 7 on your own if you can. It's the same type of problem. 2 times w plus 6 equals 4w plus 6. Actually, this problem is slightly different. I'm sorry, I didn't realize I had done 3 already. So 1, 2, 3 is the same type of problem. 4, 5, 6, same time. So now we're on 7, 8, 9. And this is what we did a lot of today in class. We said, oh, look, here's the equal sign, and there's a w over here, and a w over here, okay? And that can cause us some complications. First things first, let's get rid of any fractions. There's no fractions at all. Second, get rid of the parentheses. So we're going to distribute. 2 times w is 2w. 2 times 6 is positive 12 equals 4w plus 6. Okay. Now once again, I still have a w on both sides of the equal sign. I'm not inside any box or anything like that. This step, just remember, has to be plus or minus. I need to get the w's on one side or the other. So I'm just going to minus 4w minus 4w. What's 2 minus 4? That'd be negative 2w. Then we have plus 12 equals 4w minus 4w is 0. 0 plus 6 is 6. Okay. Now we can do our box and say everything outside is plus or minus, so I'm going to minus 12. And that gives me negative 2w equals 6 minus 12 is negative 6. Divide by negative 2, divide by negative 2, and w equals 3. Because the negatives cancel each other out. Number 8 will be very identical to that. It will have a set of parentheses, and it will have a variable on both sides of the equal sign. Set it up by just copying it. Negative 3x plus 45 equals 9 times x plus 9. We don't have any fractions, so I'm going to do the distributive property. First, let me just straighten that out so I know the equal sign. Right now, all I want to do is the distributive property. So right there. And that just means 9 times x is 9x. 9 times positive 9 is positive 81. And then we have negative 3x and then plus 45. So now we see we have x's on both sides of the equal sign. You can't just combine them. You have to add or subtract. Always. So I'm going to minus 9x, minus 9x. So you see that I always do it with that side first. I don't know why, just habit. And that gives me negative 12x on that side. I didn't touch that, so plus 45 equals, and the 9x's cancel out, leaving me with just 81 left on that side. So now I can draw my box, and everything outside the box is plus or minus. So I'm going to minus, because that's the opposite of what it says to do, minus 45, minus 45, giving me negative 12x. The minus 45 cancel out, equals, I'll do this on the calculator just to make sure I'm doing it right, 81 minus 45 is 36. Now I'm down to the very last step here, so divided by negative 12, divided by negative 12, x equals negative 3. Because the 12's cancel out, and that leaves us with just x on that side, and 36 divided by negative 12 is negative 3. Okay, number 9, I believe, is very, very similar. Yep, it's got a variable on both sides and it's got parentheses. Rewrite it, negative 4v minus 5 equals negative 7v plus 8. We have our equal sign, so we can draw our line just to keep the sides balanced here. But first, there's no fractions, but there is parentheses, so let's distribute. We have negative 4 times v, which is negative 4v. Negative 4 times negative 5 is a positive 20. Remember, negative times negative is a positive. And then that stays the same, negative 7v plus 8. Now you see that we have a v on both sides. Okay, right there and there. So if we have a v on both sides, we're just going to add or subtract. I'm going to add 7v because it's a negative. So plus 7v. What's negative 4 plus 7v? 3v plus 20 equals, and this turns into a 0. 0 plus 8 is 8. Here's our box. And to clear this out, it's always add or subtract. So I'm going to subtract 20, and that leaves me with 3v. This goes away to 0. 8 minus 20 is negative 12. Down to the very last step, so I can divide. Never with the variable, only the number. The 3's cancel out, leaving me with just v equals negative 12 divided by 3 is negative 4. So I'll put in a negative 4 for my answer. So that's it for that section. Now 10, 11, and 12 are one more difference. Okay, number 10, 2 times w plus 7 equals negative 2 times 8w minus 4 plus 8w. Okay, now you notice we got two sets of parentheses. Okay, we have our equal. Let's just clear the parentheses out the best we can. 2 times w, 2 times 7 is 2w and positive 14. negative 2 times 8w, and negative 2 times negative 4. Negative 2 times 8w is negative 16w. Negative 2 times negative 4 is positive 8 plus 8w. Starting to see this problem here. We have 1, 2, 3 variables, or 3 w's. Well, on this side, we can just combine them, and that gives us 8w plus 8. And this still is 2w plus 14. So all I did was combine like terms. I didn't move anything across the equal sign, so I didn't have to add or subtract 16. I just combined them. Negative 16 plus 8 gave me 8w. Now I want to subtract 8w. And that's equals, because I want it on only one side. So that leaves me with negative 6w plus 14 equals 8, because the 8w's go away. Here's my box, and I have minus 14, minus 14, and I'm left with negative 6w. The 14's go away, and 8 minus 14 is 6. So that'd be a negative 6, because that's a negative 14. Divide by negative 6, divide by negative 6, and w equals 1. Okay, let's do another one of those, number 11. Let's rewrite it. Looks hard, but let's rewrite it and just not panic. Negative 5 times negative 3u plus 4 minus 2u equals 4u minus 3 minus 2. Okay, again, looks hard, I'll give you that. But you just got to follow the steps. Step 1, clear any fractions. No fractions, so we can move on. Step 2, distribute anything that needs to be distributed. There we are. So we've got negative 5 times negative 3, which is positive 15u. Negative 5 times 4 is negative 20 minus 2u. Because I didn't touch that. That one just moved straight down. Now 4 times u is 4u. 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. And then minus 2. Because again, I didn't touch that, so that one just went straight down. Okay, after every single step, just combine like terms. And if we notice we have some like terms, we can combine this one with this one. And we have some whole numbers on this side that we can combine. So what's 15u and negative 2u? That would be 13u. I didn't combine the negative 20 with anything, so that stays right there. 4u didn't combine with anything, so that stays there. But negative 12 and negative 2 combined to make negative 14. Now we're starting to get a problem that's much more reasonable. It doesn't look as hard. We need to get rid of this on this side. We want all the variables on one side. So we're going to minus 4u, minus 4u. 13 minus 4u is 9u. Minus 20 equals, this goes away, and we're left with negative 14. Plus 20, plus 20, and I'm left with 9u. The 20s go away, and I have 6. Now we're going to divide by 9, and we are left with u equals 6/9. Well, if I need it simplified, 6/9 is the same thing as 2/3. So here I'll put the fraction and say that's just 2/3. One more. It's going to be a hard one like that last one, or a confusing one. Let's say that instead. It's confusing. 6 times x minus 1 equals 4x plus 2 minus 2 times negative 5x minus 3. A whole bunch of stuff that we need to deal with. First things first, though, we're going to just look at both sides individually and look to see what steps we need to take. The first step is fractions. There are no fractions, so we can just move on. The next step is distribution. We need to distribute stuff. So we're going to distribute the 6 there. And if we look, no parentheses, no parentheses. Here we have negative 2 that we have to distribute here and here. What is 6 times x? 6 times x is just 6x, and 6 times negative 1 is negative 6. Good. Parentheses are gone here. Over here I've got 4x plus 2. I haven't done anything with those. Now here I've got the negative 2 times negative 5. That's a positive 10x. Negative 2 times negative 3 is a positive 6. Notice I say positive and negative. It helps me keep track if I'm adding or subtracting. Now we look, do we have anything we can combine? We've got a number here and a number here. We can combine those. And we have an x here and an x here. We can combine those. 6x minus 6 equals, there's nothing to combine on this side. Let's combine these two. 4x and 10x is 14x. Now let's combine these two. 2 and 6 is 8. Perfect. Now we're down to a simple equation that we can work our way through. We want this x gone. We only want all the x's on one side. So I'm going to minus 14x from both sides. Always just do it from both sides. 6 minus 14 would be 8x minus 6 equals, the 14s go away and I'm left with just, 8, not 6. Now I'm going to plus 6, and I have 8x. The 6's are gone. 8 plus 6 is 14. That gives me x equals 14 over 8. And don't be afraid of fractions if you get them. 14 over 8 simplifies down to 7 over 4. So we'll put it in fraction form, 7 over 4. And that's how you do the problem. The first three, you're just getting x on one side and solving. The next three, you're dealing with combining and distribution on one side only. And then the last ones, it gets a little bit harder because you've got distribution on both sides and combining like terms on both sides. But you can get through this no problem. If this video still doesn't help you, every Friday is a Fix It Friday. So just bring this homework with you on Friday, and I'll sit down with you and we'll go through it question by question, and I'll help you one at a time. So hopefully this helps. Let me know if you have any more questions.